Hello everyone, this is Ms. Long, and with this video I would like to introduce to you Unit 5 on the inquiry-based report. I find that students have had a lot of experience with research, but not inquiry, even though this is the dominant style of communication and journalism that you're likely to see in most of our 21st century communications. So let's take a moment and ask, what exactly is inquiry? Well, in the very basic sense, it's our core nature as human beings as we learn and grow. We ask questions, we observe, we come to conclusions. But that's a bit too general for our purposes. Inquiry, on another level, is about asking good questions and finding good answers. And that is the job of journalists. And it's these journalists that then go in pursuit of truth. It's also about purposeful writing. Writing that impacts people and that fosters understanding, writing that changes the world, often resulting in changes of legislation or political party rule. It's about changing the world by finding out what is and instead making a suggestion to the reader that there should be something else instead. You might be most familiar with inquiry if you think of television shows that you've seen, 60 Minutes, ABC's 2020, or 9 News Investigates. The types of topics that you'll see in these shows are the types of topics you're likely to find in a written inquiry report as well. So inquiry or investigation is basically a branch of journalism where writers explore current issues and expose the truth, often providing the basis for societal change. Think of whistleblowers, those people who expose wrongdoing, muckrakers that you probably studied in history from the early 20th century. As an example, in 1887, reporter Nellie Bly wanted to find out what the conditions were in a madhouse. So, best way to find out, she feigned madness and checked herself in, and after she was finished, wrote all about it to expose what these basically insane asylums were really like. This is an example of inquiry. In the early 20th century, meat houses in Chicago had all kinds of problems. The meat was diseased and rotten. It was contaminated. And Upton Sinclair wrote a very well-known book called The Jungle that exposed some of these practices. And as a result, meat conditions, packing houses, the quality of meat is all regulated today by the government. More around the toward the end of the 20th century was the Watergate scandal, when President Nixon in the early 1970s was, with his administration, doing some wiretapping of his political opponents. Not a very good idea, and reporter Bob Woodward exposed what was going on, resulting in his eventual impeachment and resignation. Again, inquiry can really change the world. We ended up with a new president as a result of this journalistic writing. About the same time, 1968, in the Vietnam War, there's a brutal massacre known as the My Lai Massacre, where 500 unarmed civilians in Vietnam were basically slaughtered at one time. Well, as a result of the exposure of this wrong, support for the Vietnam War dropped dramatically. But it was because of the inquiry that showed the problem that was there, the massacre that occurred, that people's sentiment changed. So again, inquiry can change history. Closer to your lifetime, when 9/11 occurred, there were all kinds of inquiries that followed. What happened? What could have happened? Did we know what was going to happen? Who knew what was going to happen? People in search of the truth after disaster. Certainly happens after any shooting, major killing, major incident. There will be inquiry to find out what really was the situation when the tragedy began. Also within your lifetime, the subprime mortgage crisis. People who should not have received mortgages because they couldn't afford them were being given mortgages in outrageous terms that really benefited not the homeowners. And it took a bit of inquiry to bring this out. And you may remember in 2013, Eric Snowden, who through WikiLeaks and through some of the reporting brought out the abuses of the U.S. government and the British government in violating citizen security rights so that they could get information for terrorism, but, well, it's not okay to do that. So brought that out. In fact, he's currently in Russia, I believe. Pretty much any presidential administration is at least the target of some inquiry to find out what's really going on with that administration. Well, when I'm not expecting you to be Pulitzer Prize winning reporters right now, let's take a look at what it means for this class. The Unit 5 Inquiry-Based Report is a 5-week unit in which the goal is to produce a high-quality 2-page research-based investigation based on a topic of current relevance. So that could be something like you want to find out how well that new school lunch policy is working at your school, or whether the competency-based diploma that's coming to public schools in the next few years is really going to solve the problem. Are schools ready for this? Or it might be an investigation in Colorado to find out exactly what's happened to our tourism as a result of our new marijuana laws. Any time you want to find out what's going on regarding a current issue of social relevance, you're likely looking at inquiry writing, and that's what you'll be doing here. In this unit, you will learn about the genre first by reading mentor texts. You'll gather information by conducting your own interview, looking at media pieces, going back to those database articles that you did at the end of first semester, and looking at other documents to help you gather information to better understand an issue. And you will emulate the investigative style that reporters use by using short paragraphs, not the PEA formal, really chunky paragraphs, but short paragraphs, 1 or 2 sentences. You'll use quotations, you'll use text features, boxes, captions, and you'll have a balanced presentation of facts. You'll find out what everybody has to say about the issue. This is not the time to tell us what you think of the issue. This is to expose what's going on and what the different perspectives are. As we continue this unit, you will master MLA format and you'll hone your research techniques. That's something we began earlier in the year. You'll get another shot at it now. And in the terms of skills, we'll be focusing on commas, conjunctive adverbs, introductory phrases and clauses, paraphrases, and how you use and punctuate quotations. So let's get started. So in our first of 5 sessions, we'll be laying the foundation for the work that we'll do later on in the session. So you'll have 5 basic assignments for this session with an optional 6th one. You'll be surveying mentor texts. That means you're going to look at current inquiries and you're going to figure out what the traits are of those inquiry texts. How is this type of writing different from other people's writing? You will consider different topics on a discussion board, write about a topic related in your weekly journal, set up an interview for someone that can help you explore your topic, and then take a quiz on the punctuation issues that we will be looking at. I do want to point out that I'm trying something new this semester with this work ethic bonus. It's basically my attempt to resolve the dilemma that I feel between grades should represent students' skills and grades are a reflection of a student's effort. And in the work world, if you put forth great effort, you typically get a bonus. So this is what I'm trying. Each Monday, you will have the opportunity to create a weekly schedule using a template. This is the template that's linked here. You're going to create for yourself a weekly schedule where you're going to plug in all of those assignments and appointments and sports practices and everything you have and create a weekly schedule. And if you submit that to me for each week in the unit, then at the end of the unit, then you will receive a 3% extra credit bonus, basically points worth 3% of whatever that unit's point value was. So hopefully we'll get you organized and you'll get the points just for completing the schedule. But I hope that completing the schedule helps you to actually go forth and produce those assignments according to your schedule, and then that will also raise your grade because you'll get your assignments in. So something new I'm trying, love to have feedback, but I wanted to make you aware of it. So your first assignment in here is to explore mentor texts. Some of these come from Pulitzer Prize winners. There's a good variety of topics and styles, but you'll have a chance to look at those, and in this survey, share your observations about the type of writing that it is. Then you'll go back and you'll have access to what other people said as they completed this survey, and you'll be able to make some generalizations about what inquiry is. After you've done that, you'll take a look at some topics, possible topics, questions. Again, you're going to ask a question about a subject that you'd like to explore. For example, are those secure internet sites really that secure? Or back up at the beginning, to be a little bit more linear, what kinds of ethics should guide our experimentation on animals? Does a no-kill shelter really mean no-kill? Tanning booths, are they safe? Or are they posing a danger to teens? Lots and lots and lots of questions that you want to explore here before you come up with the ideas that you would post on a discussion board. And I'd like you to list 3 questions that you've considered, and the first one that you list should be the one that you plan to do. But list the other 2 to give other students some ideas, and then as you look at what other people are planning to do, ask questions. If they're planning to explore Colorado's new marijuana laws, ask, well, how is this affecting tourism from California or Oregon? Or, I've always really wanted to know how long people are coming and staying here, or that kind of thing. Ask questions related to their topic, and those will be your responses. The next topic will be to continue your weekly journal, and I'd like you just to think about whether there are certain areas or circumstances where you wonder if what looks like it's the truth isn't really the truth. Or maybe there's some questions you've always had, things you've pondered, things you've wondered. And this can be any kind of entry you want to make. It can be serious or philosophical, or it could be lighthearted and funny. The idea is to help you explore the topic ideas you might want to consider. The next assignment in the unit will be to identify someone that you can interview about your topic. You want someone who is related somehow to your topic, has a little bit of expertise on it. So, for example, I had a student last year who wanted to look at puppy mills, and so she went and actually interviewed somebody at a pet store. You'll set up the interview, you'll tell me that you've actually made the arrangement, and then you'll write the questions that you're going to ask that person. And finally, our last focus in this session will be to look at how we use commas for those introductory elements, those introductory phrases, conjunctive adverbs, dependent clauses, those things that initiate a sentence and provide transitions between ideas. Because as you write this inquiry report with those short paragraphs that are the style, you will probably need some turn signals for your readers. So we want to be able to punctuate those correctly. So there's some initial practice with that and a quiz that you will take over the session that includes your comma usage. So be sure to do the practice exercises before you get to that point. And when you wrap up this session, you should have a topic that you're going to explore, an interview appointment, knowledge of comma rules. You should have an understanding of what the genre is, what the characteristics of the genre are, and you will look at things you've always wondered to explore what you want to look at yourself. And that's where we're going. Be sure to be in touch with any questions. I'm here for you. Don't forget that Wednesday is a live session option. You don't have to attend, but it's live office hours where you can get help if you're having a hard time figuring out what you want to do. Have a great week.